Hey, it's Brian Willey with Freedom Personal Trainer Coaching. I hope you're having a great weekend so far. Now, a lot of you have had a chance to go through my video series, and I'm starting to get a ton of great questions coming in. And so I decided to start a series where I'm going to start answering lots of these FAQs, and I'm calling it Ask the Coach. So please feel free to submit your questions in writing to me. You can message me on Facebook or submit them by email to freedompersonaltrainercoaching@gmail.com. So Dale asked a really great question that I get a lot. He says, Brian, what do I do when I don't have access to a facility? Right now, this is my biggest problem. So Dale, that's a great question. What I would do is market yourself as an in-home trainer. And in fact, I talk about how we built up these 3 businesses in 3 different cities, and that's what we've done. It's all in-home training. 2 different ways. 1, they come to us in our home, or 2, we go to them in their home. And this is really, really great because it's not limiting like a facility. Remember, a facility is it's a fixed location, and people are only going to drive a certain radius to get to you, right? And that radius is probably 5 miles, to be honest. Sometimes people will say, oh, I don't, that's fine. I can drive further. I can drive 10 miles, 15 miles. But the reality is what happens is they get burnt out on the drive, and then you're not going to have them for very long. So a facility really limits you to people that are around your facility. So I would approach this in one of 2 ways. One is if you're set on finding a facility, no big deal. And if you're going to do it, you're going to have to kind of think outside the box. One, I would start with, really a no money option is if you have the space, set a facility up in your house, right? You have to obviously pay for the equipment and things like that. But that's definitely an option if you have the space, is start in your own home. If you don't have the space, let's say you live in an apartment, oftentimes apartments have their own gyms. And so, you may talk to your apartment management and ask if it's okay to, bring in a client every once in a while, or, whatever you want to work out with them. Bring your clients there and train them. Other ways to find facilities are really not necessarily going after gyms, although that could be an option if they have, some space to rent. But sometimes that can be expensive. What I would do is look at other types of facilities, like a yoga studio, for instance. Oftentimes yoga studios have a ton of downtime. Pilates studios have a ton of downtime. And sometimes they have multiple rooms where they're using one room and the other room is free. And so you could possibly work out a deal where you are able to train your clients in these other rooms or during off times, usually for pretty cheap because you're just really kind of helping them pay some of their overhead. Another option are things like dance studios. I've seen people do that too. Like, in the Las Vegas area, they still have these Arthur Murray dance studios from the 50s, right? But a lot of times they're only open at night, for instance. There's classes that are going on at 6 o'clock. Well, what do they do the rest of the day? You could rent a space from them. An indoor boot camp, oftentimes they have downtime, and you could rent space from them. But what I would do is if you're short on cash and you don't want to start spending money on rent, is start your own in-home training business where you actually go to someone. So again, we talked about, people really like the convenience of you going to them. That way they're not locked down to a facility where they feel like they have to drive a long, long ways to get to you. And by the way, what we talked about before, a lot of times people live in apartments, they have apartment gyms, or they live in homes, they have their own home gym. Or let's say they have nothing. Doesn't matter. You can actually design a workout program where you're not lugging around a lot of stuff, and you can bring things like medicine balls, kettlebells, bands. Design a workout that's going to accommodate them and help them, and it's super convenient for them, right? There's no excuses. You're driving to their house, and you set your own parameters. Maybe you're willing to drive 15 miles, and that's it. And the cool thing is you can, get 8, 10 clients very easily using my marketing program in home, and build up a really, really nice business where you're not driving around all day long. This really is just 8 or 10 clients might be, 20 hours a week or something like that, right? And yes, there's some drive time involved, but you're going to be working a heck of a lot less than you're working at a gym and making a lot more money. So hopefully that answers that question. You definitely don't need a facility to get started. And in fact, I encourage people to really never buy into the whole facility concept unless you have to. Doing in-home training is really, in my opinion, the way to go. So that's a great way to get started and a great way to build up a good business. Thanks for the question, and hope everyone has a great day. Take care.